This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Friday, the real Friday, November 8th. And today's pod is the best one yet. This is a TBOY.
The top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
Speaking of which, Jack, the 3 stories, they're so fantastic. How about we get right into it? What do you think, man?
For our first story, e.l.f. beauty sales have grown 40% or more for 8 straight quarters.
And we think e.l.f. Beauty's results explain the election results.
For our second story, 2 years ago, Elon Musk dropped $44 billion to acquire Twitter.
But this week, Elon got the biggest return possible: power.
So we're laying out where X could go next.
Third and final story, what do we got, Jack?
And our third and final story, there is one powerful word to help you in any business or political discussion that you have this weekend.
And the one powerful word you gotta know is...
We.
We.
Has nothing to do with Adam Newman or WeWork.
Not WeWork, but it's we. We'll explain.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix of stories,
we will explain. Fantastic mix of stories, Jack. Love the mix today.
It was a big week, wasn't it? The New York City Marathon, daylight savings, and a presidential election.
I'm schwitzing over here. Jack, you're feeling a lot of emotions and you're not feeling a lot of sleep these days.
So you may be ending the week with a drink, or 2, or 3.
Maybe 5. Yetis, you may be celebrating what happened this week, or you may be commiserating what happened this week.
Either way, Nick and I have a warning for you.
A warning if you have a gift card to TGIFriday's restaurants.
Because get this, TGIFridays has $50 million in unused gift cards.
But just this week, TGIFridays declared bankruptcy.
Awkward. TGIFridays, the restaurant chain that's all about drinking on Fridays.
Jack, can you sprinkle on a little more context for us?
They basically invented the Friday happy hour, right?
Happy hour? That's TGIFridays. It's part of their business model.
But now that they're going bankrupt, what's going to happen to those $50 million in unused gift cards?
Well, Jack, honestly, nobody knows. Nobody. The lawyers don't even know.
Literally, the bankruptcy judge is going to have to decide what happens to your gift card.
She doesn't even know what she's going to do about this.
TGIFridays has only $5 million in cash on hand, so they can't handle the $50 million of gift cards.
Jack and I did the math on it. $5 million in cash, can't afford the $50 million in gift cards.
So our advice?
Yeah.
First come, first served.
Besties, it could be your last day to cash in on that $15 margarita card.
So Yetis, we hope you can relax after a big, wild, emotional, and intense week.
And if you got a TGIF gift card, use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it.
Jack, it's the Friday, the real Friday. Let's hit our 3 fantastic stories.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, e.l.f. Beauty Cosmetics just saw their sales surge 40%.
If you want to understand the 2024 election, e.l.f. Beauty helps explain it.
Now, yeah, it is one of the top 10 stocks of the last 5 years. It wasn't just Nvidia and a whole bunch of AI. What was it, Jack?
e.l.f. Beauty, the budget beauty brand, is glowing right now.
Get this, e.l.f. Beauty, their stock jumped another 11% yesterday. They're now worth $7 billion. That's more than Lyft.
The first time we covered them on our pod, they were worth $1 billion. Now they're worth 7.
Now I have these regret feelings, Jack.
Yeah, so do I. I almost bought it.
But Yetis, e.l.f. Beauty, they've actually got one of the great streaks on Wall Street.
For the 8th quarter in a row, sales rose 40% compared to the year before.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, which makeup stock outperformed them all?
e.l.f. Beauty did. Because they have legitimized the dupe economy. e.l.f. is basically the Kirkland brand of cosmetics.
Glossier Boy Brow is jealous because if Revlon launches a $50 eye cream, then e.l.f. whips up a $15 version faster than a Kardashian.
They're the dupe of cosmetics.
But Yetis, there was a bigger surprise in e.l.f.'s earnings. And what was it, Jack?
e.l.f. has managed to cross the generational chasm.
The generational chasm. Now, Jack, we should point out you do have a 42-step nighttime skincare routine, don't you? So you can help us answer the next couple questions, I believe.
I have an equally long morning skincare routine. Thank you very much.
This is good to know and new information for me. Still processing. Yetis, makeup, it is a fragmented industry by age, isn't it, Jack?
You're not using the same brow liner as your kids, your cousin, or your mom are. You each have a different brand.
But e.l.f. has managed to become multi-generational.
Get this. e.l.f. says that they're the #1 makeup brand for Gen Alpha, for Gen Z, and for millennials.
And what's another way we could put this, man?
e.l.f. is the top-selling makeup brand for any American under the age of 45.
Even wilder, besties, it's not just e.l.f.'s holy grail legendary moisturizer that's #1.
e.l.f. is #1 in 16 different categories. Eyes, lips, and face. e.l.f. is crushing it on all 3.
Spoiler, that's what e.l.f. stands for.
So if you're out on a date tonight, odds are your wing woman is e.l.f.
So Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at e.l.f.?
e.l.f. Beauty helps explain the 2024 election results.
Hear us out on this one, Yetis. For years, e.l.f. Beauty's growth was slow. But then in 2022, something big changed.
In 2022, e.l.f. went from 6% sales growth to 60% sales growth.
In fact, over the last 2 years, e.l.f.'s revenue is growing on average 60% every single quarter.
So what changed in 2022?
What was it, Jack?
It was inflation. 2022 is when prices started soaring across our economy.
And that's when suddenly e.l.f.'s very affordable cosmetics became the most popular for everyone under 45.
e.l.f.'s $3 lipstick that we covered 3 years ago, it's still $3.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Revlon and L'Oreal, their lipstick prices have gone up and up and up.
In fact, you won't find e.l.f. Beauty in Sephora in the middle of a big city. They're not a coastal elite lip gloss brand.
e.l.f., in fact, just struck a deal with Dollar General because Dollar General has 80% of their stores in rural America.
So Yetis, we said this was the grocery receipt election. Prices were the priority for most Americans in the ballot box.
So the way Jack and I see it, e.l.f. Beauty, it captures exactly that.
e.l.f. was an inflation buster, and consumers loved them for it.
For our second story, the biggest business winner of this election was Elon, especially for X.
Here's how Elon Musk could turn his social media platform into Fox News, but for the next generation.
Now, Yetis, back in 2022, there was one deal that was widely seen as one of the worst acquisitions ever.
The deal was Elon acquiring Twitter for $44 billion.
It was seen as bad because once Elon axed Twitter's content moderation, brands didn't want to advertise there, and so revenue started falling.
And then his subscription version, $8 a month for Twitter Blue, never caught on.
So for the last 2 years, X's business has kind of looked bad.
That's why privately held stock in X is believed to have lost 78% of its value.
So add it all up, and that $44 billion deal that Elon did looked like a clear financial loss for him personally.
But now, because Trump has won re-election, that Twitter investment has turned into a gain for all his other businesses.
One way Jack and I were trying to understand this was to put it in a business context, and basically Twitter turned out to be a loss leader for Elon.
It's a loss leader, a huge cost, but that's creating wealth elsewhere.
Companies do it, and Elon basically did it for himself because Elon turned X into a billboard for the Trump campaign.
And now that Trump won, Elon is trying to cash in with favors from the future president.
And one big way where we could see that is with X.
We know that Elon has always wanted X to become a super app. One app to do everything.
So first, Elon could launch crypto trading on X and start challenging Coinbase and Robinhood when it comes to Bitcoin.
X is already the platform of choice for crypto bulls. It's where they hang out during the day.
So then Elon could steer crypto regulation to benefit trading on his app.
Another thing Elon could do is he could launch podcasting on X. After all, this was the podcast election, especially on the right.
Like Jack, he could convince Joe Rogan and other right-leaning shows to just ditch big tech and stop doing their podcast there.
Forget Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Post your pods on X and join the right revolution.
Where Elon would allow listeners to maybe tip their favorite shows, possibly in crypto, and do all of that on X.
The final thing Elon could do with X is merge it with Truth Social.
Yeah, because Jack and I were talking about this, and it is kind of strange that Trump posts on a platform that is in competition with his favorite businessman's platform.
After all, both X and Truth do the same thing. They might as well enjoy network effects by merging instead of competing.
So Jack, Elon owns SpaceX. He could co-own TruthX with Trump.
And each of those services that we just described would benefit the other, which is basically the definition of a super app.
Which is what Elon said he always wanted to create. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at X?
Rupert Murdoch is out. Elon Musk is in.
Yetis, it's time to add a new title to Elon's LinkedIn resume, and that title is conservative media mogul.
Rupert Murdoch shaped conservative thinking for decades with his ownership of Fox News.
Logan Roy did the same thing until his son messed it up, but that's a different story.
Well, now Elon Musk is doing the same thing by amplifying conservative talking points on X.
Fox News, it's losing its relevance because cable has lost its relevance, right, Jack?
That's why X can be the Fox News of the next generation.
So add it all up, and buying Twitter, yeah, that was a bad financial investment at first, but it made Elon a powerful media mogul.
That's why we're saying today, Rupert Murdoch is out, Elon Musk is in.
Hey Yetis, if you're a bestie, take a sec and hit that subscribe button.
And like this video while you're at it. If you leave a comment, by the way, we'll read it.
For our third and final story, there is a secret word that will get people to listen to you instead of fight with you. And that word is we.
We is a secret superpower, and we've got the data to prove it.
Now, Yetis, Jack and I don't know your schedules, but we're pretty sure this weekend you're going to be at a brunch, and honestly, political conversations are going to be unavoidable.
And that'll kick up a notch or two at Thanksgiving when Uncle Ken is there.
Your buddy Timmy's got some hot takes. Well, we discovered that there are studies about the most effective way for you to handle these complicated conversations.
There's one word to use if you want to persuade instead of argue. If you want to find common ground instead of divide.
And that one word is we.
It's the most powerful tool in conversation.
So, Jack, let's get out our toolbox here. Yetis, the Wall Street Journal did an article where they looked at a bunch of studies, and the word we is basically a linguistic trick shot.
It's also a leadership trick shot.
It doesn't really cost you anything to use it, but you get a lot of benefits when you use it, man.
Using the word we instead of you can be the difference between conflict and agreement. And the data shows it.
Get this. A Columbia Business School study examined Reddit forums where there were comments that use the word we and there were comments that use the word you.
There's a comment that says you are wrong, you need to change. And there's another comment that says we're wrong, we need to change.
And Jack, what did they discover the moderators did when they saw those two different ways of discussing things?
Moderators are 3 times more likely to censor a comment as inappropriate if it has you versus we.
Okay, another study in this vein actually gave participants a little bit of a prompt, a creative prompt.
They gave participants a paper with an argument about why the drinking age should be lowered.
But here's the interesting thing. The only difference between the two papers was that one said we should lower the drinking age and the other said you should lower the drinking age.
People were much more convinced by the we arguments than the same argument that used the word you.
In fact, before today's podcast recording, I did a secret experiment on Jack where I said, Jack, we should change where our microphones are, not you should change where our microphones are. And what did you do, Jack? You moved the microphone.
Okay, apparently I'm a lab rat. Thanks, man.
So, Jack, why is it that people are responding more to we than the word you?
If you address someone with a you statement, you make that person feel targeted, attacked, and they may become defensive and not listen to you at all.
It's just fundamental psychology. But if you use the word we, they tend to be more open and feel included, so they're more likely to listen.
Not only did we lead to a better discussion about the subject, it also led to better persuasion by you.
What we're saying that is all you have to do is pivot the pronouns from you to we. You go from second person to third person, and you kind of get what you want.
There's no I in team.
No.
Neither is there in this story.
No, there isn't, Jack. So, Jack, what's our takeaway for all the Yetis and the besties out there?
We is a secret business superpower.
So, Yetis, the data shows that we actually led to more persuasion in political discussions.
But Columbia Business School showed that it applies to business situations too.
Yeah, another example, giving feedback to a colleague. Well, the studies show that they are more likely to accept that feedback or feed forward if you use we.
You need to improve this pitch deck versus we need more organized pitch decks. The we is better.
That's what's going to get the analyst to update the pitch deck.
Oh, and if you're applying for a job, using we signals that you want to be a part of the company. Using you could make the boss or the interviewer feel a little defensive.
Yeah, good point, Jack.
It's like, who are you telling me what to do?
Honestly, Jack, I'm going to say this, it kind of works in relationships too, using we instead of you, doesn't it, man?
Honey, we need to respond to them faster. Versus, honey, you need to respond to them faster.
You know how I kind of take my time in the shower when I'm in the shower? When we were living together in the dorms, I used to. The other day, Molly said, we need to get to dinner faster. And now I was in a towel a minute later. A minute later, I was in a towel.
Sure, it worked on you.
It worked on me. So Yetis, you may be in a political chat at brunch, or you may be at a one-on-one at work, or you may just be getting ready for date night.
Naked in the shower.
Either way, your secret superpower is we. Great finale, Jack. Great finale. Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for the real Friday?
e.l.f. beauty stock has soared as Americans under 45 are in love with their affordable makeup.
e.l.f. Beauty, it helps explain the 2024 election.
For our second story, Elon. He made a huge bet on Trump and it paid off. X could explode in Trump's second term.
Rupert Murdoch is out, Elon Musk is in.
And finally, in a potentially difficult conversation, using we statements instead of you statements is more effective.
We is a secret business superpower for you.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, the Fed cut interest rates by 25 basis points. All other interest rates are probably going to come down as a result.
More interestingly, the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, addressed the Trump in the room that we mentioned in yesterday's pod.
Jerry Powell said that Trump legally cannot fire him, and if Trump asked him to resign, he would not resign from our central bank.
Our central banker is in it to win it. He won't quit until his term ends.
And second, 3 months ago, the domain www.chat.com was acquired for $15 million by a secret buyer.
And we just found out it was Sam Altman. OpenAI has acquired the website chat.com for $15 million.
The world's biggest chatbot now owns chat.com.
I'm surprised they didn't go for chat.bot, or chatbot.com.
Surprised they didn't just get sam.com, Jack. And finally, every tech CEO from Sam Altman to Tim Cook to Satya Nadella publicly congratulated President Trump.
And they did it on X. They're all using flattering words to try to get on the president-elect's good side.
CEOs in this new administration, they're going to have to act like diplomats.
Let the sucking up begin.
Now, time for the best fact yet. This one whipped up by Jack and me because it's from our The Best Idea Yet episode that we just did on the Jeep.
There's several theories about why the Jeep is called the Jeep. Maybe it's a slurring of the word GP for general purpose, which is what Ford originally called it.
Or maybe the Jeep car is called the Jeep because in the 1940s, Jeep was a slang term for noob or rookie.
Or maybe it's called the Jeep because Popeye the Sailor Man had a magical mythical pet named Jeep, who he rode on.
But Yetis, we've got way more to tell you about the Jeep car, the car that saved the world.
We're dropping a sample of our Jeep episode on our feed tomorrow.
That's right. From our new show, The Best Idea Yet, we did a whole 45-minute episode all about the untold origin story of the Jeep.
And we're dropping 7 minutes on it tomorrow. So take a break from the news this weekend and give it a listen.
Yetis, you looked fantastic all week. It was an intense week. It was a big week out there, like we said.
And in each of the last 3 episodes, we've put a lot of thought into each story, especially ones that touch on the election, which seems to be everything in the news world right now.
Because the election touches everything about the economy. So we were trying to think of ways to show you what's really happening, why it was happening, and these other angles that you just aren't going to see anywhere else.
We put all our economic takeaways this week into our newsletter, where you can find everything wrapped up in a tight bow.
Our weekly newsletter, which you should subscribe to right now because you'll get it tomorrow morning.
You'll be armed with the facts, stats, and our original economic election takeaways for this weekend.
I think what Jack we're saying is not you should sign up for our newsletter, but we should sign up for our newsletter.
We got a link in the episode description for you to subscribe.
So Yetis, we will subscribe to the newsletter, and Jack and I will see you Monday. And before we go, a congratulations to Yetis Tatiana and Kamal over in lovely Brooklyn, New York. And Jack, did you hear what the wedding planner leaked to us?
No, what?
Apparently, Tatiana and Kamal may be walking out to the TBOY theme song down the aisle.
No way.
This couple is the best one yet.
And happy 249th birthday to the United States Marine Corps. This shout out is sent in by Sergeant Major Hector Sanchez, who has been serving for 20 amazing years.
So thanks to all the Marines out there who've given their service.
And happy birthday to Martell ZW in Seattle, Washington.
I don't know if Martell was named after me, but I'm going to run with it. Martell, best birthday yet.
Happy anniversary to Brandon Brock in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Get this. This is his 5th shout out for his 5-year anniversary with Marina.
Not too shabby. And Sage is celebrating the 100th day of their life down the street in San Francisco. And Jack, Hey Juan, her parent, and her sister were in the same class as me as warden. Legendary Yetis, legendary Wardenites.
And happy birthday to David Soon and Kevin Huang. From Los Angeles and New York, these besties were MVPs in TBOY winning that Webby Award.
We did it together, guys, and Kingston Stith is turning 11 years old down in Atlanta. Not just a future entrepreneur, but a legendary soccer player. Combine the two.
Happy birthday to Jairo Loren, who's turning 25 in Los Angeles.
And Mika Villarreal is turning 3 years old up in Napa, not with a Pinot yet.
And happy 23rd birthday to Nicole Sweeney in Eden Prairie, Minnesota.
And Trisha Paul is enjoying their first birthday in Boulder, Colorado with some really happy parents. Congrats, guys.
And to anyone else who's celebrating something today, make it a T-Boy.
Celebrate the wins.